Let's talk about filters today. All right, welcome back. Told you I'd do a filter thingy here. First off, I got a new mic on my lapel here. Hopefully this is coming through good. We'll see. Hopefully the volume's good, audio's good, that sort. But if not, we'll know not to do this again. But if the audio sounds different, that sort, that's why. But talking about filters, lots of questions come up about filters. I've got some paperwork here. We will go over a few things about filters. First off, filters, just like oil, filters are important. Almost, if not, I don't necessarily want to say more important, but filters are just as important as good oil. Having a good filter. Your oil, of course, having a good oil, transport all your contaminants, anything that gets dirt, anything that gets into your oil and your engine, combustion gases, sediment, whatever, sludge. Anything that might be building up and just gets past your air filter too, gets into your engine. Your oil will collect all that and transport it through the engine there, through your filter, of course. Clean out all that stuff to put fresh oil, good clean oil, I guess I should say, not so much fresh, but clean oil, back through the engine. All those little wear particles and everything else that get picked up as the oil pumps through, collect in the filters. If you don't have a good filter, a lot of those particles will get past and continue to do harm and scrape and do damage to your engine. Wear out that much faster and that sort. So a good filter is just as important as good oil. Let's start here. Since I printed this off the Amsoil site, you can go. It's one cool thing, Amsoil. A lot of all this information we provide for you, Amsoil provides to you. You can go look it up, all in one spot. A lot of other companies, I did a little bit of research. Let me see. Yeah, this last page here that we'll go over at the end here. I did a little other research of other oil filter companies to see what they had to say, and we'll do some comparison here. So let's get into it. First off, can I use the same? I'm just going down the line here what they got printed out here. But can I use the same filter twice? Depending, you can. I don't see why you would. Filters are cheap enough, inexpensive enough. Don't get too cheap a filter. But, they're cheap enough. And like I said, depending on how long your filter's been in use, most everybody, all the companies say 1 year or up to a certain number of miles. Generally, whatever your OE recommends in your owner's manual for your vehicle. Be it 3,000, 5,000, 7,500 miles. Most everybody's 7,500 miles these days. All your 3,000 mile recommendations are the old school thinkers that think you need to change it that often. And that's okay too. If you do, you've probably heard me say it before. I'll say it again. If you want to change your oil, that often, and you feel comfortable with it, go right ahead. There's, you'll never have bad oil at that point. You always have good oil. It's just a lot of money and a lot of time wasted if you're doing it more often than you need to. But at least you feel comfortable. You always have good oil, fresh oil. Yeah, and that sort. So that's okay too. Go ahead and change it as often as you like. But there's no real need to use an oil filter more than once. If you're doing a flush, you just rebuilt an engine, you only had that oil in there for 500 miles or 1,000 miles or so, that's probably a good idea to change your filter because you've got those initial wear particles that have broken in, from your fresh rebuild, getting all collected in that oil filter. Get rid of that oil filter. So I personally don't see a reason to use the same oil filter twice. How long do filters last? Again, generally 1 year. A lot of them put a mileage on them. Amsoil, we've got our 15,000 mile filter and we've got a 25,000 mile filter. Your 15,000 mile filters. Our 15,000 mile, we'll say EA, what do we got here? We've got an EA 15K13, indicating 15,000 miles. Here's an EAO 80. This is what the Cummins will use, your EAO 80s. Notice there's no 15 on that. This one here is good for 25,000 miles. Yep, right there on the box, on the front, 25,000 miles. Reason being on that, for the AMSOIL filters, notice the difference in size. So your smaller engines, your 4 cylinders, some V6s, the wife's Nissan Altima 3.5 liter V6 uses a 15K. It's a smaller filter. It's not able to hold as much contaminants and whatnot. So it's rated for a smaller distance. Bigger filter, obviously going to be able to hold more contaminants. It can go a little bit longer, you know, for that sort. So comes down to size. I'm not sure how many others do that. I didn't look that closely into them. I know some of them, I think Mobil 1, again, we'll look into that here on this last sheet. I think they had a 20,000 mile filter. You read the fine print though, it says, or OE recommended interval. No car manufacturer recommends 20,000 miles. So you're still stuck at 7,500 miles or 10,000 at most usually. But anyway, where was I getting at on that though? Again, sorry, I've got the lapel mic in here. If you get a little bit of static from me moving around, first time using it, we'll just have to play around. But so there you go with the how long does the filter last. It just depends on the warranty, which AMSOIL has a warranty on our filters. I forgot to change my filter when I change my oil. Is it too late? No, it's not. Go ahead and change the filter when you're ready. When you get a chance, I guess not so much when you're ready, but you know, change it sooner than later. But such as with AMSOIL up to 25,000 miles, a lot of times if you do oil analysis, send that oil analysis in, and they can tell A, what type of contaminants are in your oil, how much contaminants, if there's an excessive amount or not. And it can also tell if your filter is getting plugged and not, you know, filtering properly. How they can tell, it's them. You know, I'm not a chemical engineer or nothing like that, or do the oil analysis, but they can tell. And a lot of times when you do a oil sample, they'll come back and say, either change they'll even tell you, change just the filter and top off, you know, however much your filter uses. You know, drop a quart, change your filter, top off, and keep running your oil, because your oil might still be good, but you know, they can tell if that filter is not doing its job properly. You know, if your levels are just a little bit high on your contaminants or, you know, something like that, change your filter, top off. That fresh filter will continue that, or too, when you send in your oil analysis, you tell them how many miles you've got on the oil when it was changed last. So they'll probably tell you, yeah, you've got 20,000 miles on this oil filter. Go ahead and change the oil filter, but your oil still looks good, still has those properties in there, but contaminants are starting to rise a little bit. Go ahead and change your filter. Your filter will clean out some of those extra built-up properties and can continue running. Side note on that, with the oil analysis, generally your smaller cars, like the wife's car, uses 4.5 quarts, 4.4, whatever it is, just under 5 quarts. You might as well change the oil completely anyway. But something bigger like your diesels that hold 10 to 12, 14 quarts. I know my Duramax 10 quarts, 12 quarts with the bypass on it. Cummins are 12 quarts. You're looking at a fair chunk of change to change your oil. You know, if you're doing it more often than you need to, every 3,000 to 5,000 miles, you're looking at 80 to 100 bucks to change your oil each time. An oil sample costs you about 25 bucks, give or take, 25, 27, less than 30 bucks anyway. You get to know what's going on inside your engine, if your filter's doing its job properly, and it'll be a lot cheaper in the long run just to change a filter and top off and continue running. Your oil's still doing its job. proven, guaranteed with oil analysis. So anyway, should I pre-fill? This is kind of personal preference. Pre-fill your filter. If your filter goes in upright vertically, I got acorns dropping on the roof of the trailer here. If your filter goes in vertically, definitely go ahead and, it doesn't hurt nothing, go ahead and fill that guy up. Take all that, 'cause otherwise your engine, when you first start up, you're going to have to pump oil to fill up this filter before it goes through your motor. So you'll have that dry spot, if you will. Go ahead and fill it up as much as you can, top it off, get whatever you can in there, put it on. That way you've already got oil ready to pump through the engine. Wife's car, her filter goes on sideways. There's no way you're going to fill up this filter and put it on. So it is what it is. If you can, fill up your filter. If you can't, it's only going to run, your engine's going to run for a whole 3 seconds or so, 5 at most, until it gets that oil pumping through the system to fill up the filter and get oil flowing. If you got a good oil, that film is left behind, you're going to have a bit of protection left behind from the oil film on that initial startup. That's where using a good oil comes into play there. So yeah, pre-filling, personal preference. If you can, do it. If you can't, you can't. What we got here? We got, should I use a conventional or synthetic filter? Synthetics are going to be better. They're going to be more uniform in their ability to catch particle sizes and that sort, and they're just going to do a better job. But again, personal preference. As long as you're using the filter, changing it regularly when you change your oil, then a filter is a filter. I say that in the same aspect of oil's oil, but as long as you're doing it is my point. But between conventional and synthetic filter, your synthetic filter will catch more particles than a conventional paper filter will, and hold up longer too. That's when you'll be able to get those extra 15,000 miles or so out of a filter, vice just 7,500 miles or so, or whatever the OE recommends on your vehicle. Increased efficiency, again, the filter will be able to collect more. It might not necessarily be a bigger filter, but it'll be able to collect more particles, so your efficiency and that's where it'll go up. Capacity and that sort. Durability, of course, too. It won't break down near as easy. Increased durability. What's inside an oil filter? I don't know if anybody's ever broken open taken a filter apart. I've got a motorcycle filter. They're all basically the same, but here's a motorcycle filter I cut apart a few years back. Everything's falling apart. But you get the idea. It's cut apart here, but there's your filter. You got the canister, the main body of it, of course, and depending on the quality, you got thicker quality stamped steel for those. Be able to hold higher pressures. Not that your oil system runs a super high pressure, but still, you get a cheap filter, you're going to get a cheap can, and you might end up with leaks, bad welds, bad seals. In the bottom, you're going to have a spring. Sometimes they have a spring like this. Other times they'll have a piece of metal that's bent, spring steel that's a little piece down there. That's going to hold pressure on your filter assembly right here. Oil comes in through the outside, comes out through the inside, as it flows through. But you got your pleats and end caps. Some end caps are paper. A lot of your cheap filters, the orange can ones, if you know what I'm talking about, a lot of them have paper end caps. And but yeah, your better ones will have the metal end caps to them. So you got your filter media. That's what's going to be either your cellulose, your paper, or a synthetic media that they've got on those. Next up, you got a valve. Here, your drain back valve. That's going to help hold your, some filters have an anti-drain back. Now right here too, there's part of it, your silicone rubber. Better ones are going to be silicone. Hold up to heat better and just more durable. But a lot of your engines that mount sideways, have that filter like the Ultima and that sort of wife's car, smaller filters that mount this way. They'll have that to keep oil in the filter, keep the oil filter full, so that on startup you've got a full filter. Otherwise, you don't have that. All the oil is just going to drain right back out, and you have a dry start each time. And then, of course, your top right here with your rubber O-ring. Rubber O-ring seal goes around the top. That's going to what seals to the engine, keep everything all together there. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but very important part of the oiling system there, your filters. With that, when you change that O-ring, a lot of times if you don't lube, dropping stuff everywhere. But if you don't lube that O-ring up when you put it on, and make sure when you remove your old filter, make sure this O-ring comes with it. If you don't, you double up on that O-ring, it's not going to seat properly. It'll, could squish out. You end up with an oil leak when you first start up, or even, who knows, might work itself out down the road at the most inopportune time. So always make sure you got that O-ring off your old filter and lube the new one with a little bit of fresh oil when you put it on, just to make sure everything seats properly and it all tightens down properly. Can I use synthetic oil with a conventional filter, or vice versa? Of course you can. There's nothing said, again, back to, for lack of better terms, I hate saying it, but it is what it is. Oil's oil, filter's filter. It's just some oil in that sort's better, just like there's filters that are better than others. But you can definitely use conventional oil with a synthetic filter. You can use synthetic oil with a conventional filter. It's still going to work. It's just the how good it's going to work and how efficient, that sort. I'm going to end up losing some pages over here. So there, that's basics of filters. Here we got, I'll show you the small one here. Motorcycle filter. Again, here's difference in size between a 15K and a 25,000 mile filter. Again, depends on your vehicle. Diesel filter, 4-cylinder V6 filter. We also have, for your motorcycles, nice pretty chrome one for your motorcycles, just because they're more visible on a motorcycle. A lot of guys like the chrome. We of course have the black ones also for your blacked out bikes, and if you just like the black filter better. Anyway, let's get to the stats I looked up earlier. I went to Fram's website and looked up, as mentioned, AMSOIL filters, 98.7% efficient at 20 microns absolute. 98.7% at 20 microns absolute. A little bit of tidbit here. Microns, of course, really small. Your human hair is approximately 70 micron. Of course, depending, but you're looking about 70 microns. So that gives you an idea how small 20 microns is. Bypass filters for the bypass for diesels and whatnot. Your bypass filters, they filter down to 2 micron. So human hair 70 micron. Regular filter, our filters, synthetic media, filter down to 20 micron at 98.7% efficiency absolute. Bypass filters filter down to 2 micron. That's a lot of particles coming out. Let me see, I may end up reading most of this, but Fram Ultra Spin-On Filter. I looked to see what other companies equated to closer, as close as possible to our filter. So the XG8A in Fram's Ultra Guard, or Ultra Spin-On Filter, was the closest in specs. Of course, they got their cheaper down the line ones. Not much information on them because they're about as cheap as you can get, and well, at least you're putting a filter on your vehicle, I guess. Traps and holds more dirt than double the dirt of typical retail brand filters. Provides up to 20,000 miles of protection when used with an appropriate synthetic oil. They specify synthetic oil. Follow recommended change intervals as outlined in your owner's manual. So it's good to 20,000 miles, but they tell you to follow your owner's manual, which will never go to 20,000 miles. Most owners, I know, again, I always refer to my Duramax just because that's what I know the most of. GM is 10,000 miles is when the oil life monitoring system will light up to 10,000 miles. You know, and of course before that, mine actually usually only goes about 85 to 9,000 miles. I get pretty good mileage out of mine for before the oil life monitoring system pops the light. But they tell you right there, good to 20,000 miles, but you still have to follow your owner's manual, which at most, you know, mostly 7,500 to 10,000 miles. We're good, guaranteed up to 20,000, 25,000 with oil samples. Fram group testing of average filter expectancy. Well, this is talking about traps and holds more than double the dirt of typical retail brand oil filters. Fram group testing of average filter efficiency of pH 8A, some other number, and 4967 or equivalent Fram Tough Guard and Extra Guard models under ISO standard, which is a testing standard, 4548 TAC 12 for particles greater than 20 microns. So how much greater, you know, what they're actually testing, but anything larger than 20 microns is what they're testing for, holds more dirt than double the dirt of typical retail brand filters. pH 8A, which is your basic Fram, not the Extra Guard or Ultra, that sort. Special blend of fibers and resin creates a proprietary filter media that captures 95% of the dirt particle, 95% of the dirt particles that can cause harmful engine wear. So 95%, we're good, 98.7, almost 98%, or 99%, 98.7%. And they're good, 25%. I can't remember, I think down here further down where Mobil One, I checked Mobil One, and they actually talked about the difference between absolute and nominal, which I'll talk about here in just a second. Mobil One extended performance filters. I went to their site because a lot of people like Mobil One, which is all good. You know, if I wasn't running my AMSOIL, I'd probably be running Mobil One. I used to run Mobil One anyway, so I probably would have stuck with them. But that's just what everybody knows, always refers to. Their extended performance oil filter. Again, trying to find what was the most equivalent to AMSOIL's. Extended performance oil filters, long life performance oil filters for long oil drain intervals. Here you go, keeps oil cleaner longer, 99% efficient. We're right, you know, efficiency, but I got an asterisk there. Let's see, efficiency rating based on removing particles greater than 30 micron. So we're good, 99%, 98.7% efficient at 20 microns. They're 99% efficient at 30 microns. Right there, we're, you know, filter down better on that. Protects twice as long, tested and proven at double auto manufacturers recommended oil change intervals. So again, double 75, so 1,500 to, you know, 20,000 miles, whatever, you know, protect double your recommended manufacturer's interval on that. So they don't really give a mileage there or whatever, just double. Yeah, versus economy brand filter. All right, Mobil One warranty. And they also listed Mann and Hummel Purelator filters LLC. So evidently Purelator, Mann, Hummel, and Mobil One all fall under the same parent company of Mann and Purelator evidently. LLC. So the Mobil One warranty. This limited warranty is valid for part numbers without A, example your M1 TAC 110, up to 1 year. This would be your basic filter. 1 year from the date of installation or 15,000 miles, whichever comes first when combined with a fully synthetic motor oil designed for your vehicle's intended oil change interval. And for part numbers with an A, M1 TAC 110A, up to 1 year from the date of installation or 20,000 miles, whichever comes first when combined with a fully synthetic oil designed for your vehicle's intended oil change interval. Again, designed for your vehicle's intended oil change interval. So it's good for longer than your interval, but only good for your manufacturing interval. So I guess that's good in its own right. It's going to hold more particles, filter longer, that sort. It's a good filter, but they're still only guaranteeing it for your manufacturer's interval, 7,500 miles, 10,000, whatever it might be. So take it for what it is. It's a good filter, I suppose, but it's not. They're not going to guarantee it beyond your manufacturer's recommended interval. This warranty does not cover any filter that has been subject to misuse, neglect. Of course, anything like that. Go four-wheeling and put a rock through it. Guarantee's gone on that. Has been improperly installed. Again, make sure you get that O-ring off your old filter, and you're only putting one O-ring back on when you put your new filter back. So improper installation has been used for non-approved, non-recommended applications, or if used in competitive racing or modified high-performance engines, or in any aircraft or aviation applications. If you're putting on your aircraft, you probably got some other line of filters specially designed for your aircraft. Has remained in service beyond the original equipment recommended change interval. Right there. Warranty does not cover, I'll read it again, does not cover, I just lost it now, does not recover if that filter has remained in service beyond the original equipment recommended change interval. So again, right there in writing, yes, the filter is good for 15 to 20,000, but they won't guarantee it if it's been in service longer than your OE recommended interval, 7,500 miles, 10,000 at most, whatever. Like I keep throwing that because that's what most manufacturers are recommending these days, 7,500 to 10,000. So they're not going to guarantee it if you left your filter on there for 15,000 miles, even though your oil was still good. They're not going to guarantee it because it's on there longer than OE recommended interval. This limited warranty does not include engine condition due to normal wear, abnormal operation, negligence, abuse, or damage from casualty, shipment, or accident, whatever that means. One more here, Wix 5151P XP, which is their synthetic line. The XPs are the synthetic line. No micron rating was listed, and no synthetic line. There are non-XPs, just the 51515s or whatever without the XP at the end, was a 21 micron nominal. Talk about that right quick. Let me get my phone out. I screenshot it. I looked up difference between absolute, which we are absolute filter rating. Wix listed a nominal filter rating. Here right off of Google, absolute filter rating means 99.9% of the particles larger than a specified micron rating will be trapped on or within the filter. So the filter absolute will collect 99.9% of whatever's claimed or larger. So with us, AMSOIL filters, 98.7% efficient absolute, 20 micron, meaning everything that's 20 micron or larger will get captured. 99.7% of them, of those particles, will be captured. And again, with our bypass filters down to 2 micron. Absolute. So I don't have a bypass filter box out here to give the exact, but it's about the same, 98.7, whatever it was. But still real close there. Absolute. Nominal filter rating. Filter rating indicating the approximate size particle, the majority of which will not pass through the filter. So nominal is, and they don't even tell you the average size, let's see, including the approximate size, so 21 micron approximately, give or take, and the majority of those particles will not pass through the filter. It doesn't, other than that, what is majority and what is approximate, where absolute is just that, absolute. 20 micron, 98.7% absolute. So there's a little bit of that information there about the absolute and nominal when you look up your filters. I think that's about it. I'm not sure how long this went. Hopefully got some good info off of it. Actually, it looks like we're about 30 minutes in. I was actually expecting this to be a little shorter, but hopefully that's some good information about filters. AMSL, I'll leave some links down below about, to go take you directly to our filter lines if you already know. Otherwise, I'll leave a link down below to look up your vehicle. And it'll list out what filter we recommend. 'Cause of course, everybody's got their own different numbering system for filters. I'll leave that link so you can look it up, see what we have available for your vehicle in our filter line. If you've got any questions, make sure you comment, send me a message, whatever. I'll get back to you as soon as I see it. And appreciate you watching. 360plusoil.com is my website. Again, links below. I've got my playlists for this AMSL video and other AMSL videos, and for my Duramax. So, got any questions, let me know. I appreciate you guys watching.